finding. It's gonna be a pretty simple day today. Balake, Aaron, Alfonso. What is that? I have to call the principal.
Hello?
Hello, Principal Janina. We have an issue here in my classroom.
What is the problem?
12th grader Alfonso Lopez brought a .38 caliber gun to school today.
At Edison High School? That violates the Gun-Free School Zone Act of 1990.
I'll have to call the authorities.
Hello, I'm a police officer. Sir, I'm gonna need you to put that .38 caliber gun away. You are getting detained, my son. Come here. I'm gonna put these handcuffs on you. Come on, we're going to the car. 12th grader Alfonso Lopez was charged under Texas law with firearm possession on school premises. The next day, the state charges were dismissed after federal agents charged Lopez with violating a federal criminal statute, the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990. Here today because you have violated the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990, which forbids any individual knowingly to possess a firearm at a place that he or she knows is a school zone.
That's unconstitutional because Congress doesn't control public schools.
We deny this motion for an indictment and conclude that it is a constitutional exercise and Congress has the power to regulate activities affecting commerce. Alfonso Lopez, I am charging you with violating the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990. That is a federal criminal statute. We are sentencing you to 6 months in prison and 2 years probation. Court dismissed.
I want to appeal.
Here in the writ of certiorari, it says you were convicted of violating the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990 and were sentenced to 6 months in jail and 2 months probation. What do you want?
My client challenges that conviction, saying that it exceeds Congress's jurisdiction to control schools under the Commerce Clause.
The previous conviction has been reversed.
Today we'll be reviewing an appeal from the Court of Appeals, 5th Circuit. Is the 1990 Gun-Free School Zones Act, forbidding individuals from knowingly carrying a gun in a school zone, unconstitutional because it exceeds the power of Congress to legislate under the Commerce Clause? Is the 1990 Gun-Free School Zone Act unconstitutional? If you're in favor, say aye.
Nay. Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
The opinion of the court is that yes, it is unconstitutional. The possession of a gun in a local school zone is not an economic activity that might, through repetition elsewhere, have a substantial effect on interstate commerce. The law is a criminal statute that has nothing to do with commerce or any sort of economic activity.
Our case was the U.S. versus Lopez case, which was about Alfonso Lopez bringing a gun to school. And he was arrested, went to the district court, and he was sentenced to 6 months in jail and 2 years in probation. And then he filed for an appeal, and he went to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and that reversed his case, and he was all good and dandy, and then that took it to the Supreme Court.
Lopez was convicted of violating the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990 since he knowingly brought a gun to school. Lopez, in his oral argument, argued that the Gun-Free School Zone Act of 1990 was an unconstitutional exercise of Congress's power. He argued that schools were controlled by state and local governments and were not under the authority of the federal government. The federal government claimed that it had the authority to ban guns in schools under its commerce power. The Commerce Clause of the Constitution gives Congress the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. The government asserted that the law was related to interstate commerce because guns in schools led to violence. People would then be reluctant to travel through the areas where the violence occurred. The government also argued that the disruptions in the learning environment created by the guns in schools result in a less educated citizenry, negatively affecting the commerce.
The Supreme Court had a 5-4 decision ruling in favor that the Gun-Free School Zone Act was unconstitutional. The court declared that the criminal statute by its terms has nothing to do with commerce or economic enterprise, nor is it an essential part of a larger regulation of economic activity. Therefore, since the respondent was a local student at a local school, there is no indication of interstate commerce.
John R. Carter argued the cause for the respondent. With him on the brief were Lucien B. Campbell, Henry J. Bimperad, Carter G. Phillips, and Adam D. Hirsch. Briefs of the amicus curiae urging reversal were filed for 16 members of the United States Senate. Briefs of the amicus curiae for affirmation were filed for the National Conference of State Legislators. Briefs of the amicus curiae were filed for academics for the Second Amendment. This court case was argued from November 8, 1994 to April 26, 1995.
Here at Edison High School? That violates the Gun-Free Act zone of...
Hello, I'm a police officer. Is that a gun? I need you to put that 30.30.
Today we'll review reviews. Nay.